Before we step into Chapter 1, let me just say, this isn't your typical isekai story. Beneath the red kimono and cherry blossom parasol hides not only a beautiful girl named Lily, but also the bewildered soul of a modern boy. What makes this opening so gripping is the atmosphere. A quiet Kamakura night wrapped in fog, where beauty collides with dread. In my view, it's the kind of scene that feels painted in ink and shadow, half dream, half nightmare. The stage is set for an encounter that is both breathtaking and terrifying. The infamous Night Parade of 100 Demons. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Chapter 1. Night Parade of 100 Demons. Under the cold moonlight that shrouded Kamakura, a girl in a red kimono, Lily, wandered aimlessly through mist-veiled ancient streets. Yet behind that delicate beauty dwelled the soul of a modern high school boy who had awoken in a strange world without knowing why he had become a young woman. Still lost and searching for a way out, Lily stumbled upon a terrifying spectacle. The Night Parade of 100 Demons, a procession of monsters that appeared only once a year. From within the fog came the beat of drums, the shrill of flutes, and the wailing of strings, heralding a host of horrific creatures. A three-tailed fox, a towering red ox, blue oni, serpent women, all led by Demon King Mishizane, whose gaze alone could scatter misfortune. Among them was an ox-drawn chariot carrying Hashihaime, mother of Prince Kohei, her presence as eerie as it was regal. In the moment when death loomed closest, a mysterious female voice whispered, urging Lily to open the cherry blossom parasol to conceal herself. Obeying the command, she slipped from demonic sight, retreating into a dark alley, and witnessed the endless march of ghostly soldiers. On her first night in this world, Lily tasted the fragile boundary between life and death. The moment Lily hides under the parasol is absolutely suffocating, like watching a horror movie that's somehow painted with poetry. As the eerie music faded into the distance, she was left alone, trembling under the moonlight, burdened with terror and the unanswered question, what fate awaited her in this shadow-ridden realm? Chapter 02. The Mirror. Escaping the horrors of the Night Parade of 100 Demons, Lily thought she was finally safe. But soon she found herself surrounded by man-faced demon hounds, their voices echoing the same word over and over. Mirror! Cornered and desperate, she unfurled the mysterious cherry blossom parasol, and at once her figure vanished from their sight. She slipped away unharmed. Alone at last, Lily's attention fell on the ancient bronze mirror tucked into her sash. Earlier, she had even struggled with the strange shame of inhabiting a girl's body, tempted to peek at herself, only to pull back in embarrassment. Beneath the moonlight, the mirror glowed, its rust peeling away until it reflected a face of breathtaking beauty. When Lily looked closely, she froze in shock. It was none other than Senpai Rin, the upperclassman she had secretly admired back in her days as a boy. A crushing realization struck her. Had her soul taken root within the flawless body of the very girl she once longed for from afar? When Lily looks into the mirror and sees Rin's face, it's genuinely shocking. It gave me chills, but also made me feel sympathy for her helplessness. Chapter 03. Lily's Thoughts. After realizing she now inhabited Rin's body, the very senpai she had once secretly admired, Lily was thrown into a storm of emotions. She felt both blessed and guilty, her cheeks burning with shame at possessing the perfect senpai's form. The dull ache in her heart only deepened her confusion, raising even greater questions about what had truly brought her into this world. Here the story shifts from monsters to inner turmoil. I felt like Lily's struggle with identity was even more intense than facing any demon. She even wondered if her own body had been cast into this world as well, or if she had somehow traded places with Rin. Lost in her thoughts, Lily encountered a young samurai, Hojo Ujizane, a night patrol guard of Kamakura. Their first meeting was filled with misunderstanding. Wary of her presence, He reached for her hand, and Lily instinctively slapped him away. That very reaction convinced Hojo she was a noble lady, not some lurking monster. To conceal her true identity, Lily gave her name as Kagami Lily, bound to the mysterious mirror she always carried. Before they could speak further, the earth trembled. A massive ogre emerged from the shadows. Hojo quickly sheltered Lily beneath a Sanskrit talisman, confessing that even samurai were powerless against such a creature. At that very moment, a silver-haired female samurai stepped forward, wielding an enormous greatsword. With commanding grace, she faced the beast head-on, heralding the start of a clash that shook the night. Chapter 04. The Girl and the Sword. Hojo shielded her with a Sanskrit talisman, admitting with trembling voice that even samurai could do nothing against such a monster. A colossal ogre loomed into view, forcing Lily and Hojo to hold their breath and stay hidden. While Hojo trembled in fear, a silver-haired samurai woman stepped forward, an enormous greatsword resting easily in her hands. As the beast lunged with crushing force, the girl leapt gracefully into the air. With a single flawless arc of her blade, she split the monster clean in two beneath the blood-stained moonlight. Lily was left in awe. The warrior was both elegant and fierce, moving as one with her sword. In Lily's eyes, she shone like a Valkyrie blazing against the night. The silver-haired warrior's arrival isn't just a rescue, it's like holding up a mirror to Lily, showing her the kind of strength she secretly longs for. Admiration quickly gave way to yearning. Someday, she longed to stand as strong and radiant as this woman, instead of cowering on the edge of life and death. Hojo whispered the warrior's title, a blade maiden, one of the rare few with overwhelming power to face demons head-on. Lily felt her fear melt away, replaced by resolve. Though she had only just set foot in this world, her path was now clear. She would become a samurai. Chapter 05. Lost Memories. Before dawn broke, Kamakura remained shrouded in darkness, its streets still haunted by the lingering echoes of the night parade. Though the demons had withdrawn, alleys were still rife with lurking monsters, while warriors pressed on in their endless hunts. Amid this uneasy calm, Hojo offered to escort Lily home. When she hesitated, unable to answer, he assumed she had lost her memory after facing demons, a tragedy that had befallen many young women. His assumption, however, gave Lily a welcome, safe escape, sparing her from suspicion. He explained that many young women traumatized by demons had suffered the same fate, which made his story believable. Unable to take her back to distant Kansai, Hojo instead suggested she stay at the home of Matsuda Nagahide, the swordmaster of the Hojo clan. The idea stirred both unease and hope within Lily, for it was a step onto the path of swordsmanship she now yearned for. On the road beyond the city, Hojo led the horse while Lily rode behind. In the lonely dark, with only the chilling wind for company, doubts swelled in her heart. Could she truly protect the body of her senpai in this blood-soaked world? She longed to become a samurai, yet fear and weakness gnawed at her. Weighed down by exhaustion, Lily slowly drifted to sleep. At her side, the mysterious mirror began to glow, pulling her into a strange dream. The image of a modern-day airplane, where a timid boy sat beside the very girl he adored from afar, her senpai from the old world. The familiar scene blazed in the twilight sky, like a sealed memory breaking free once more. The airplane flashback doesn't just fill in Lily's past. It lands like pure drama, a confession shouted into the storm, the kind of memory that burns itself into your soul. Chapter 06. Senpai. In her dream, Lily returned to that fateful flight from years ago. Beside the timid boy, too shy to do more than steal glances, sat the girl he had always loved from afar, his senpai. Her fragrance, her delicate features, and the closeness he had never dared to hope for sent his heart racing, yet still he could not bring himself to speak. Then suddenly, the plane was caught in a violent storm. Engines roared, the fuselage shook, passengers screamed in panic and despair. As the aircraft plunged, he nearly cried out in terror. until a slender hand grasped his. It was his senpai. Though her face appeared calm, the tremor in her hand betrayed the fear she was suppressing. Though her face remained calm, her trembling, sweat-soaked hand betrayed the fear she was suppressing. Even so, she chose to protect him in those final moments. When the front of the plane tore apart and chaos erupted, Senpai pulled him into her arms. The storm winds tore everything away, yet her embrace was warm and unyielding. Then, her gentle lips brushed his ear as she whispered, "I like you." In that instant of life and death, she confessed the feelings she had hidden, that she had arranged this trip, that she had dreamed of giving herself to him in Kyoto, that she wanted to be by his side. Her words froze time, turning disaster into a fleeting, bittersweet dream. They clung to each other as they were swept from the broken plane, plunging into the ocean under the glow of dawn. There were no more screams, no more fear, only desperate gazes and final tears. Before his consciousness slipped away, she left him with one last message. Live on. Though fate cast them into the abyss, her arms never let go, leaving Lily with a memory both sweet and tragic, and the haunting mystery of how her soul had survived to awaken in a world of swords and demons. The cruel irony hits so hard. Lily inherits the body of the girl she adored, but only because their world literally ended in tragedy. Chapter 7. Dawn beyond the hill. Lily awoke, heart pounding from the dream of that crash, memories cutting into her like knives. Her senpai's final confession, her warm embrace, and her last words, "Live on," still echoed in her mind. Silent tears fell. Why had the worthier one vanished, while she remained alive? Her emotions here feel like the rawest kind of survivor's guilt. Every step she takes carries both grief and a strength she never asked for. Yet she steeled herself. Surviving in this world was the only way to honor that promise, and perhaps, someday, to find her senpai again. The rising sun painted the hills golden as Hojo led the horse, guiding Lily toward the estate of Matsuda Nagahide, sword instructor of the Hojo clan. Before them stood a rustic wooden house, surrounded by low fences and mossy stone. It looked serene, until a sharp cry of "Kill!" rang out from the training yard, startling Lily. She stiffened in alarm, wondering if even a delicate young lady like herself would be forced to train alongside those mud-streaked boys. Inside, she saw children barely 7 or 8 years old, practicing with wooden swords under Matsuda's stern eye. The middle-aged samurai was broad-shouldered and imposing, his voice booming with authority. Lily's heart wavered. Would a fragile young lady like her be forced to train alongside these mud-streaked boys? Hojo formally introduced her as Lady Kagami, a distant relative from Kansai, and requested that Nagahide give her shelter. Matsuda accepted with respectful courtesy. For the moment, suspicion faded, and Lily breathed a sigh of relief. But then, a crude youth named Taro pointed at Lily and spat out vulgar words, making her frown. Matsuda barked at him, while Hojo merely sneered inwardly, unwilling to stir trouble. Before leaving, Hojo urged Lily to stay here a few days, promising to return soon. Though she sensed a trace of personal affection in his concern, she politely thanked him and kept her distance. And so, beneath the morning sun, Lily stepped into Matsuda's home, a place that might open the path she longed for, to become a true samurai. Chapter 08. Lodging, Bathing, and Entrusted by Hojo, Lily took shelter in the home of Matsuda Nagahide. The middle-aged samurai treated her with courtesy, placing her under the care of an elderly woman named Ayashi. The old caretaker warned Lily that the house was filled with young samurai, many still unmarried, and that she should be especially wary of Daduji Taro, a boorish, overweight youth who had even preyed on local girls. The clash with Taro is a sharp reminder that monsters don't always have horns. Sometimes danger wears a human face. The warning made Lily shiver. It seemed not everyone in this world was as honorable as Hojo. After her long journey, Lily was shown to a private room with bathwater and tea prepared. Standing before the bathhouse, she flushed with embarrassment. This was still the body of her senpai, the girl who had sacrificed everything for her to live. Out of respect, Lily closed her eyes, even blindfolded herself with a towel, unwilling to gaze too much upon the sacred form she now inhabited. That scene in the bath hits differently. It's not about shyness, it's about respecting someone else's sacrifice while trying not to get lost in your own longing. It reminded her of summer days when she had secretly admired her senpai after tennis practice, yet now the same scent only deepened her bittersweet restraint. As she sank into the wooden tub, the faint fragrance of femininity surrounded her, both intoxicating and bittersweet. Memories surged back, her senpai after tennis practice, the sweet scent of summer days, the quiet infatuations of a timid boy. But now Lily swore to suppress such impure thoughts. Restraint would be her first step toward the discipline of a samurai. When the bath was done, she dressed in fresh robes, her body cleansed and spirit lighter. Returning to her room, she sipped tea and lay down upon the tatami. That night, for the first time since entering this world, she slept peacefully. No nightmares, no agonizing memories. Chapter 09. The Other Side of the Mirror. Under the bright moon, the ancient bronze mirror once again shone, pulling Lily from slumber. Her consciousness was drawn inside, and when she opened her eyes, she found herself in a strange octagonal chamber of stone, carved with arcane sigils and ancient seals. To her shock, her form had reverted to that of a boy, yet only in spirit. The fragile, androgynous beauty of her former self startled her, leaving her both comforted and unsettled. Wandering through the cold labyrinth, Lily discovered another chamber. There lay her senpai Rin, motionless upon a wooden bed, like a soul trapped in an endless sleep. No matter how she shouted or reached out, Lily could not awaken her. Only the faint trace of spiritual energy proved that Rin still lived. Grief and determination welled up in Lily's heart. Though powerless for now, she vowed to grow stronger, to one day rouse Rin and take her home. Overcome by emotion, Lily pressed a kiss to her senpai's forehead. There was no sensation, yet her spirit trembled. This scene hits like a gothic love story wrapped inside a supernatural trial. The kiss is tender, but the emptiness of not being able to touch her makes it gut-wrenching. At that very instant, a proud, familiar female voice rang out, forcing Lily away from the spirit realm. Darkness consumed her, pulling her back to her body. On the bed, Lily's form glowed with a pale violet light radiating from the mirror, seeping into every cell, awakening hidden strength she herself did not yet comprehend. Outside, eerie creatures lingered by the door, drawn by the power within. But uninvited, they could not cross the threshold. One by one, they slunk away into silence, leaving the night heavy with unspoken mystery. Some pressed against the doorway, sniffing and clawing as though desperate to break through, but none dared to cross the threshold. Chapter 10. Awakening after the long night. Brilliant sunlight poured into the room, rousing Lily from a night of strange dreams. She sat up, feeling lighter, stronger, renewed in both body and spirit, as though she had been reborn. The ancient bronze mirror rested on her lap, its carved patterns glowing with newfound clarity. A revelation struck her. The mysterious stone chamber from the night before, where Rin's soul lay sleeping, existed inside this very mirror. Clutching it to her chest, tears welled in her eyes. She even pressed a kiss upon the mirror's surface, leaving a faint lip mark, as if entrusting her feelings to Rin. "So you've been with me all along, watching over me." Though she had no way to re-enter the mirror or awaken Rin, knowing her senpai still lived was enough to steel her resolve. Her body, too, had changed overnight. Strength, senses, even beauty had blossomed. She no longer seemed merely a delicate young maiden. Her gaze, her skin, her very breath radiated a vitality almost otherworldly. She noticed that Granny Ayashi had kindly washed and folded her clothes, even her underwear, an act that made Lily blush in embarrassment. I love how Chapter 10 shifts the mood, from despair straight into renewal. And that little detail of her blushing over freshly washed clothes adds a surprisingly human, almost funny touch in the middle of all the intensity. She clumsily hid the sweat-soaked bedding, mortified at the thought of anyone misinterpreting it. After a quick bath, she dressed herself in a fresh kimono, recalling scraps of knowledge from her former life as a boy, secretly fascinated by women's fashion online. Placing the cherry blossom parasol aside, she adjusted her sash and carefully tucked the mirror close. Her eyes gleamed with determination. It was time to train. Stepping out into the courtyard, she prepared to face Matsuda Nagahide and the rowdy boys in practice, ready to begin the endless path of the samurai. At first, Matsuda suggested she leave such rough training to the boys and instead talk with the household madam, but Lily insisted she must learn to protect herself. She could not always rely on others to save her. Chapter 11. Samurai. Morning light flooded the halls of Matsuda's home as Lily walked, excitement surging in her chest, though she tried to maintain the poise of a refined young lady. From a shaded corner, she observed the training yard. Matsuda Nagahide's thunderous voice rang out as he scolded the boys for their weak strikes, reminding them of the merciless path of the samurai. He explained that even in the mighty Hojo clan, there were barely 100 samurai, and within his own Matsuda clan, only 4 men bore the title: himself, his uncle Masahide, Kimura, and Kanzaki. The rarity and difficulty of becoming a samurai weighed heavily on the boys. He told them that out of hundreds who tried, only a rare few ever succeeded. Even serving as common infantry for the Hojo clan was difficult. To rise as a samurai was an almost unreachable dream. The heavy, intimidating air made Lily shiver. And yet, her heart burned with longing. The image of the silver-haired samurai woman splitting a demon in a single stroke was carved into her soul. The path was cruel, perilous, but Lily would not turn away. For Rin, for the promise to bring her senpai back. Until then, she had been barefoot, but with solemn resolve, she slid her feet into the sandals that had been waiting for her. She slipped on a pair of wooden sandals and stepped into the yard, a place long reserved for men. Each footfall echoed like a vow. From this day forward, Lily would stake everything to become a samurai. Chapter 11 feels like a rite of passage. The sandals become more than just shoes. Each step lands like a drumbeat, echoing her vow. Chapter 12. The Wooden Sword. With quiet resolve, Lily stepped into the training yard and asked Matsuda to teach her the way of the sword. At first, he was taken aback. How could a delicate young lady endure such a brutal path? But the determination in Lily's eyes made him nod in reluctant approval. The chubby boy Taro immediately mocked her, and the other boys roared with laughter. He even capered about in an ugly dance, drawing roars of laughter from the other boys. Matsuda barked at them to show respect for women, though in his heart, he too doubted Lily could do more than dabble for amusement. Kimura Tetsuo warned her that the iron blades stacked nearby were sharp and dangerous, then pointed her toward the racks of wooden swords. Led into the armory, Lily chose without hesitation a wooden sword as long as a tachi. The others burst out laughing again. Matsuda warned her that beginners always choose poorly. The longer the blade, the harder it is to wield. But Lily stood firm. "Please let me try." Before the lesson began, Matsuda explained, "Attack. End the fight in a single strike. Defense. Risk your life to save your life." That was all there was to real swordsmanship. Simple, yet merciless. Then he swung his wooden blade. Though it never touched the tree, the leaves above shuddered and fell. The entire trunk trembled from the force, and the fallen leaves swirled through the air as if swept by an unseen gale. The display made Lily tremble. overwhelmed by the raw force of a true samurai. The tension in Chapter 12 is gripping. Every laugh and insult only hones Lily's resolve, sharper than any blade. It's the kind of underdog moment that makes you want to cheer her on. Clutching the long wooden sword, her heart blazed with conviction. This was her first step, staking everything on the path of the blade. Chapter 13. The Force Within. On the hardened earth of the yard, packed solid by generations of samurai training, Lily stepped forward. She looked frail, but her eyes burned with resolve. The boys smirked, eager to admire her beauty, but certain she could do nothing with such a long weapon. Then Lily swung her first strike. Her blade slammed against the wooden post, making it tremble violently as though struck by iron. No wasted motion, no sound, just a swift, clean cut, steady enough to chill the air. The yard fell silent. Even Matsuda Nagahide flinched, as if he had glimpsed the soul of the sword flicker in that single motion. This moment flips everything. Mockery turns into stunned silence, with just one strike. It's the kind of underdog reversal that makes your heart skip. Lily blinked in confusion, insisting this was truly her first time holding a blade. Inwardly, she recalled the image of the silver-haired swordswoman cleaving a demon, and wondered if her body had merely mimicked what her eyes once saw. Yet no one laughed now. The boys who had mocked her stood frozen, while Matsuda could only sigh. "Lady Kagami, why make fools of us with such mastery?" He then spoke of the concept of penetrating force, the true measure of a strike's power. Kimura Tetsuo eagerly wanted to test it, while Taro scowled, cursing under his breath. Her cold words sent a shiver through them all. To hear such ruthless truth, spoken so serenely by a beautiful young lady, it could only mean she had endured tragedies beyond imagining. At last, Matsuda explained gently, in the Heian era, penetrating force was not mere bravado, but the standard to decide who was worthy to become a samurai. After all, not everyone could prove themselves through battles to the death. And so, Lily prepared for the trial that would decide whether she had truly reached the threshold of a samurai. Chapter 14. The Penetrating Force Gauge. Matsuda led Lily and the others to a bleak, empty field, where their penetrating force would be tested. Kimura carried a mysterious wooden chest, from which Matsuda summoned a giant red daruma, a magical construct crafted by Onmyoji, designed to measure the strength of a sword strike. One boy was chosen to demonstrate. Shouting loudly, he slashed downward, only to be flung back as the daruma rebounded his strike. The result rang out: 28 kwan, decent for his age, but far below the 80 kwan minimum required of a samurai. Then came Lily's turn. She stepped forward calmly, drew a deep breath, and swung her long wooden blade. Boom! The impact tore through the silence. The daruma shuddered violently, nearly toppling from the ground. Lily's stance remained firm, poised like that of a seasoned warrior. The doll's mocking voice droned, 72.5 kwan! The yard froze. A single strike, delivered by such slender arms, had nearly reached the level of a true samurai. The real drama isn't the number itself, it's the shockwave it sends through everyone watching, especially the boys who thought she was just a joke. Even Matsuda rubbed his eyes in disbelief, while Taro panicked, unable to accept that the frail girl had come so close to matching him. Before the stunned gazes of all present, Matsuda declared solemnly, "Lady Kagami, if you truly wish to learn the sword, I will devote myself to teaching you everything I know." Chapter 15. The Details of the Trial. After the shocking demonstration, Matsuda Nagahide invited Lily into the main hall. His tone was stern as he asked why a noble young lady would walk the path of the sword. Lily answered with unwavering resolve, "I have no other choice." When he learned she intended to sit for the samurai examination, Matsuda was speechless. Then, with equal candor, he revealed the truth. The trial was divided into two parts. The first was practical, penetrating force, horseback riding, and archery. The second was battle itself, slaying an actual monster. Only by returning with the corpse of a demon could one be recognized as a samurai. The exam isn't just a test of skill, it's practically a death sentence dressed up as honor. The standard was so merciless that, out of 100 candidates, hardly one would succeed. Yet the rewards were immense: renown, privilege, wealth, even the right to kill commoners without consequence. Matsuda stressed that only the dojos of the Genji and Taira clans held authority to conduct the trial. They were the very centers of samurai power in the Heian court. By imperial decree, only these two clans' dojos held the authority to bestow the title of samurai. Lily listened in silence, memorizing every word. Her heart sank at the skills she still lacked: riding, archery, even history and culture. Her strike, too, had fallen short: 72 kwan, still 8 shy of the minimum. And yet, deep inside, she wondered if the mysterious mirror had been the source of her extraordinary strength. That night, beneath the cool blue moonlight, Lily sat alone with the mirror, whispering softly to the reflection of Rin, the first love who remained her reason to endure the brutal path ahead. And as she drifted deeper into those thoughts, the door creaked open. Lady Matsuda stepped inside. Chapter 16. The Madam. That night, Lily was unexpectedly summoned to meet the lady of the Matsuda household, Daiduji Hiroko. The woman was plump, gaudy, and coarse, her presence heavy with arrogance. From the start, Hiroko interrogated her, prying into the identity of Lady Kagami. When Lily could only stammer that she remembered nothing, Hiroko sneered, accusing her of being an imposter. She even claimed that because Lily's clothes had been verified, she could not possibly be a monster. Hiroko went so far as to accuse her of being a false lady, a fox spirit in disguise, shamelessly trying to ensnare Nagahide. The insults grew sharper. Hiroko called her a seductress, a sly fox who must be trying to beguile Matsuda. "A shameless harlot!" she spat. Lily's face burned with both shame and anger, but rather than retreat, she met Hiroko's eyes with an icy glare. "I respect you, madam, but my heart will never yield to any man." The force of her words made even Hiroko falter. Flustered, the madam backed away, muttering a warning as she left. Hiroko's venom feels like a battlefield of words, every insult a weapon, and Lily's cold defiance the only shield she has. When the door closed, Lily sighed in exhaustion. Facing such a venom-tongued woman was more draining than meeting any demon. She told herself, once she became strong enough, she would leave this place behind. After all, only Rin mattered. Her senpai, the reason Lily had chosen this perilous path. Chapter 17. Sword, Horse, and Bow. The Heian era stretched vast and perilous. Mount Fuji was said to hide demon lairs, territories fractured into countless rival powers, and the road from Kamakura to the capital was so treacherous that crossing it might cost 100 lives. Even seasoned warriors often perished on those roads, their bones left scattered along the mountain passes. And yet, in this bloody, mist-shrouded world, the clans of Genji and Taira spread their roots everywhere, their might rivaled only by the prestigious Fujiwara family. In this setting, a foreign girl named Lily quietly began her journey toward becoming a samurai. With a wooden sword in hand and black hair flowing like a waterfall, she studied the way of the blade from Nagahide, archery from Kimura, horsemanship from Kanzaki, and absorbed lessons in history and culture. Day by day, she shed her old self, stepping farther from the timid boy she once was. But elsewhere in the Matsuda estate, venom brewed. Madame Hiroko seethed with jealousy, her beauty eclipsed by Lily's radiance. Taro fumed with envy, humiliated by constant comparisons. Together, they schemed, whispering plans and dispatching a letter to Daiduji Akira. Akira was a powerful elder of the Hojo clan, and exposing Lily to him could spell disaster. Chapter 17 reminds us that battles aren't always fought with swords. Sometimes the deadliest ones are waged with jealousy and whispered schemes. Meanwhile, Lily trained in blissful ignorance. In just half a month, she could ride with ease, loose arrows with near-perfect accuracy, and reveal a natural grace in swordsmanship. Her body grew lean and quick, her reflexes sharp, as though destiny itself had honed her. Each day she rejoiced in the rigor of training, reminded of her mortality only by the ache of sore muscles. When night fell, Lily returned to her room, weary and ready to rest. She longed for a day of respite to ease her body. But just as she drifted toward sleep, a familiar voice whispered at her ear. "Yo, lying face down like that isn't good for your chest, especially when you're packing the goods you are." Lily jolted upright, hand seizing her wooden sword, eyes scanning the empty room. No one was there, only a haughty, mocking laugh that sent chills down her spine. Who was calling to her in the dead of night? An ally, or a restless spirit returned? Chapter 18. The Shikigami Sakura. Exhausted, Lily suddenly heard once more the mysterious female voice that had saved her during the night parade of 100 demons. She demanded answers, but only mocking laughter replied. The speaker claimed not to be a goddess, but a Shikigami, a spirit dwelling within the paper umbrella Lily carried. Specifically, she called herself a Kasa Obake, a spirit born from the umbrella itself. Her name was Sakura. It was she who had shielded Lily that terrifying night. When Lily opened the closet, the umbrella sprang open, spinning in midair, its white paper blooming with radiant cherry blossoms. The sight was so breathtaking that Lily's fear melted away. Sakura's entrance flips the mood completely. What starts as something eerie shifts into something almost magical, a ghostly voice turning into an unexpected companion. She felt an uncanny kinship, sensing that this spirit too had endured deep sorrow. Sakura declared boldly, "From now on, Lily was her master." Trembling with surprise, Lily nonetheless felt a kinship between them. Both bore heavy losses. Placing her hand on the umbrella, she whispered, "From now on, let's rely on each other." Sakura laughed, but gently warned Lily not to push herself too hard. Though her body was strong, overtraining would mar her flesh and beauty. Then, as if to seal their newfound bond, Sakura offered with soft cheer, "Mistress, allow me to give you a massage." A turning point had come. From that moment on, Lily would no longer walk alone. At her side was Sakura, the mysterious Shikigami, both adorable and powerful. Chapter 19. Spiritual Energy. By the flicker of oil lamps, Lily lay face down, her supple body trembling under the rhythmic circles of Sakura's massage. The soothing pleasure made her bite her lip to hold back soft moans. Even the massage scene in Chapter 19 feels symbolic. It's more than comfort. It's the opening of a doorway into hidden power. Sakura's fingertips traced slow circles across her back, sending waves of heat and relief through her body. But Sakura had not come merely to ease her body. She had come to open a new door, the cultivation of spiritual energy. Sakura explained, muscle alone had limits, especially in a woman's form. The true path of the samurai did not end with sword, bow, or horse, but in uniting oneself with the spiritual energy that flows through the cosmos. That was the power that allowed legendary women of the blade to cleave even a 5-meter ogre in half. The revelation struck Lily like lightning. She could not rely on the body alone. The true summit lay in spiritual energy. Eager, she asked how to begin. But Sakura only giggled. "Humans can't learn the way we Shikigami do. We are born knowing how to draw in spirit energy. And even souls. Humans, however, can only follow the guidance of ancient texts, never by instinct alone." Just as Lily's heart sank, Sakura dangled hope. Her former master had left behind an ancient manual. Only the first chapter survived, but Sakura remembered every word. The rest had been lost to time, leaving a fragmentary treasure of immeasurable value. Its name, Moonflower. A stunning secret was about to unfold, heralding a new stage of training for Lily. Chapter 20. Moonflower, First Chapter. In the dimly lit room, Sakura revealed an ancient secret. Moonflower, a masterpiece from the Jomon era, said to contain as many as 318 chapters. The revelation left Lily reeling, but even a single chapter was a priceless treasure with which to begin her journey. Before Lily's eyes, beneath the canopy of the cherry blossom umbrella, glowing orange characters shimmered into existence, radiant like moonlight spilling onto a silent night. They were not so much martial instructions as the heartfelt testament of a solitary warrior woman, part poetry, part philosophy, part legacy for the generations to come. Lily could not grasp it all, but awe surged in her chest. She knelt reverently and bowed 9 times, treating the author as her honored master. The scene was solemn, serene, and mysterious, perfectly in keeping with the essence of Moonflower. The Moonflower text feels less like a manual and more like the diary of a warrior poet. Every teaching reads like a verse, etched in steel. At last, Sakura drifted into a weary sleep, while Lily stepped outside, letting the moonlight bathe her form. Beneath its quiet glow, she began her first night of spiritual training, a turning point on the path to becoming a true samurai. Chapter 21. Moonlit Bath. The Matsuda household lay silent at midnight. Only Lily remained awake. Guided by Sakura, she performed the moonlit bathing ritual described in Moonflower. It was the required first step in cultivating spiritual energy, uniting the body with nature and drawing in the essence of the moon. At first, Lily blushed deeply with embarrassment. To keep her mind pure, she bound her chest with sarashi and struck her back lightly with a rod, an act of self-restraint before exposing her slender body to the moon's embrace. Finally, she stripped bare, allowing the silver light to wash over her smooth skin, feeling the beauty and sanctity of her form as part of the ceremony. Each stroke of the rod had left faint marks, but she endured them as a vow of discipline before embracing the moon's purity. The moonlit bath feels like more than ritual. Its vulnerability and power woven together, stripping away shame so nature itself can shape Lily's strength. The manual, called Moonflower Grace, outlined 3 stages of cultivation: absorption, transformation, enhancement. It warned that the absorption stage could take the longest and differed for each practitioner. Transformation had many methods, some so dangerous they could ruin the body if performed incorrectly. Fortunately, the copy Lily possessed was written for women, promising a safe path that would build strength while preserving femininity. She began to meditate, seeking to sense the flow of spiritual energy. At first, nothing came, and doubt gnawed at her. Was she unworthy? But calming herself, she recalled the feeling of walking through the forest, the eyes in the stream, the sensation that the plants themselves were watching her. She focused once more. Gradually, a single mote of light appeared before her, pure, warm, whispering its story, seed to sprout, blossom to wither. The more she opened herself, the more motes appeared, weaving into a sea of spiritual energy around her, like a sky of stars or an ocean of light. Each mote whispered of the cycle of life: seed, sprout, blossom, wither, stories of nature flowing into her soul. By the end of her first moonlit bath, Lily had moved past her clumsy beginnings and truly touched spiritual energy for the first time. It was both a scholarly exercise, 3 clear stages, and a profound experience of harmony with nature, just as Moonflower intended. Chapter 22. A Surge of Power. On her very first night of cultivation, Lily stepped into a spiritual realm dazzling like a star-filled cosmos, drinking in the abundant energy that poured down from the moon. Her body, once like an empty vessel, was filled to the brim. Her fragile skin seemed delicate, yet it hardened with newfound resilience. The strength flowing through her surpassed the limits of ordinary humans. Even in her sleep, the spiritual energy gathered into countless radiant orbs swirling around her, like a surreal dance only nature itself could witness. The next morning, Lily awoke glowing with vitality, only to nearly get caught, dozing in the veranda, clad only in sarashi. She rushed back in, barely escaping notice, before being summoned to gather with the Matsuda clan. There, Nagahide announced that in just 2 weeks, the Genji dojo would hold an entrance examination, and only one person would receive a letter of recommendation. An internal selection would be held within the clan. In truth, only the 3 youths currently under Matsuda's tutelage would contend for that single chance. Despite Taro's fierce objections, Lily resolved to compete. When she asked to test her strength, Lily drew upon her newly awakened spirit power. With a single slash, the air howled, and the very elements seemed to answer her call. The great red Daruma effigy was sent flying. The results stunned everyone. 217 kwan, nearly 3 times the limit of a normal samurai. Lily doesn't just grow stronger here. She transforms overnight. A fragile maiden reborn with mythical strength. That single night of training had transformed Lily from a fragile maiden into a swordswoman bearing the strength of legend. From this moment on, her path of the sword had entered a new chapter, one where moonlight and spiritual force merged into every strike she unleashed. Chapter 23. The Hojo arrive, continued. Under the oppressive presence of Hojo Motoshige, the Matsuda clan fell silent. No one dared defy his authority. The wooden sword stuck firmly in Lily's hand left Motoshige's 2 retainers flustered, but he himself didn't care in the slightest. His only intent was to seize her immediately. Lily knew well, this was a trap. From the name Daiduji Akira to Lady Hiroko's venomous smile, every piece had fallen neatly into place, casting her as the sacrificial pawn. The Matsuda retainers averted their eyes, none daring to speak a word in her defense. Chapter 23 plays out like pure political drama. The silence of the retainers cuts deeper than any blade, showing how fear itself becomes betrayal. Yet as the cold gaze of power bore down on her, and the helpless eyes of those around her looked away, a different resolve welled up inside Lily. Whether it was political schemes or the iron laws of family, she would not allow herself to be led so easily. In that moment, the pride of a swordswoman flared within her. Her eyes burned bright with defiance, ready to turn a moment of weakness into an opportunity, even with the looming shadow of the Hojo family darkening everything before her. Chapter 24. Lily's Rebuttal. When accused of impersonation, Lily didn't flinch. She weighed every possible escape in her mind, yet instead of resisting in haste, she chose reason to turn the tables. With sharp, measured words, she pointed out that she had never once claimed to be of noble birth, that the name Kagami was common enough, and who could say for certain she wasn't from some distant branch of the great clan. She even suggested it was possible she hailed from a far-off branch of the Kagami lineage. Oh! Really? Do you see how smooth that move was? She basically flipped the whole accusation back on them with just one hint of doubt. Her words gave the watching samurai pause, and Nagahide seized the moment to speak in her defense. He admonished Hojo Motoshige not to condemn without evidence. Lily went further, boldly declaring that she was studying the sword and preparing to enter the samurai examination. That single statement cut straight through Hojo Motoshige's scorn, leaving him at once surprised and enraged. To test her claim, Motoshige devised a humiliation. He tossed a teacup and ordered Lily to cut it midair with a wooden blade. That test isn't about proof. It's about humiliation, a way to strip her dignity in front of everyone. A challenge nearly impossible, meant only to mock her. It was a calculated humiliation, designed to strip her of dignity before the gathered samurai. Under a storm of sneers, Lily stood tall, her hair drifting in the breeze. She lifted her sword with calm grace, eyes closing as she listened to the flow of spirit power within her and throughout the world. A strange stillness fell over the courtyard, a silence that declared she would not face this trial with fear, but with unshakable faith in herself and the moonlight guiding her hand. Chapter 25. Lily's Protest. Before the assembled samurai, Hojo Motoshige accused Lily of impersonating a noble lady, presenting evidence gathered by Daiduji Akira. Lily stood firm, insisting she had never once claimed noble birth, that the Kagami surname was common, and that she should not be condemned without proof. Her protest rang out clearly in the tense courtyard. Motoshig sneered and tested her, throwing a teacup at full speed, demanding she cut it with a wooden sword. To everyone's shock, Lily calmly closed her eyes and relied on moonlight and spirit sense to anticipate the strike, splitting the cup flawlessly in midair. That moment feels straight out of a samurai legend. One clean strike, and suddenly the whole courtyard is holding its breath. Few realized she was ready to flee if things turned dire, though her precious Sakura parasol still lay inside the house, tying her fate to this confrontation. The courtyard froze. Nagahide stared in disbelief. The samurai were struck dumb, and even Motoshige stood stunned. A girl who had trained in the sword for barely half a month had just executed a strike so elegant it seemed nothing short of miraculous. In truth, Lily had relied on sensing spirit energy through the divine blessing of moonlight. But to those who saw, it was indistinguishable from extraordinary talent. Motoshig seethed, but was forced to yield. Before so many witnesses, he couldn't press the matter further. With a cold glare, he declared, if Lily passed the samurai examination, the Hojo would let go of their doubts. But if she failed, she would be seized as nothing more than a nameless commoner. With that, he departed, leaving the air heavy with tension. Classic setup right here. He acts like he's backing off, but you can tell the exam is already rigged to trap her. Nagahide, torn between guilt and worry, admitted Lily possessed astounding intuition and spirit, but warned her that true battle was the real test. Her coming opponent, Taro, was brutish yet incredibly tenacious, not an easy foe to overcome. Even so, Lily bowed her head slightly. I will be careful. Inside, however, a blazing resolve had already taken root. Her first battle was fast approaching, and no matter what, she could not afford to lose. Chapter 26. Archery, Horsemanship, and Taro. Back home, Taro stormed about in a fury, stomping the floor to vent his frustration. His heart was twisted with jealousy toward Lily and fear of her rapid growth. He liked her, yet couldn't stand the thought of losing to her. That mix of desire and resentment festered into something cruel. That's next level twisted. It's not rivalry anymore. It's obsession that's gonna burn everything down. He sought out the bandit Mifune, scheming to lure Lily away from the estate, so they could either kill her or disgrace her. Mifune and his men, seasoned deserters who had even slain female samurai before, reassured Taro they would take care of her, just as they had once done with another unfortunate girl. Meanwhile, Lily devoted herself to training day after day. Archery honed her focus and inner calm, while horseback riding tested her control and courage. She discovered archery was less about muscle and more about stillness of mind. Archery here feels like meditation with a weapon, calm, focused, and honestly kinda badass. When motionless, she was as steady as a rock, yet when moving, she became swift as a rabbit, her spirit in harmony with bow and blade. She was slowly mastering the 3 essential skills of a samurai, and with every draw of the bow, she felt an uncanny harmony between her spirit power, the world around her, and the state of her own heart. Though horseback riding still worried her, the hardest part of the exam, Lily stayed resolute. Nagahide had explained the exam's structure in detail. 5 arrows, with 3 needing to hit within 7 rings, followed by a riding course of turns, jumps, and timed strikes. She understood that in this world, only relentless training and the strength of her spirit would allow her to survive. Yet in stark contrast to her growth, shadows were closing in. While she's out here leveling up like a pro, the story's already pulling the rug from under her, with a trap waiting. Taro and his band of bloodthirsty outlaws were weaving their net, waiting for the chance to tear apart Lily's fragile, growing wings. Chapter 27. The Trap. On the night before the exam, Lily trained quietly in her room, mixing in modern strength exercises to cover what the moonlight blessing did not. She trained half-naked in her room, wrapping her chest with cloth to endure push-ups, her body glistening with sweat under the lantern light, a blend of lunar blossom refinement and modern discipline. Under the dim glow of the lamp, sweat streamed down her body, a testament to her determination to push past every limit. Suddenly, hurried footsteps echoed outside. It was Hiroyasu, another student under Nagahide, rushing in with panic on his face. He cried out that Miki had been caught in a bear trap, bleeding heavily, her life in danger. Lily's instincts sharpened. An accident right before the trial? At a time when the household's men were absent? And of all people, she was the one called to help? The coincidence was too neat. Yet instead of refusing, Lily only nodded. If this was a trap, then she would walk straight into it, treating it as a test of the survival instincts and sharp senses she had fought so hard to cultivate. That's classic drama energy. She knows it's bait, but she steps in anyway, like every hero before the storm. Though suspicion gnawed at her, she chose to accept the risk, steeling her resolve to face whatever lay beyond as both trial and trap. With her wooden sword firmly in hand, Lily stepped out into the night, following Hiroyasu. Beyond the veil of darkness, a dangerous play was about to begin, and she was ready to face it. Chapter 28. The First Battle, 1 against 4. Following Hiroyasu, Lily stepped into the dark forest, where a weathered statue of the earth god seemed to weep, as though mourning what was to come. It wasn't long before she realized she had been led straight into a trap. 4 strangers emerged from the shadows, weapons drawn, their eyes brimming with killing intent. Hiroyasu slipped into the trees and vanished, leaving Lily alone. He bails that fast? That kind of betrayal cuts deeper than any blade. The men's wooden clubs and cheap blades revealed their true intent. It wasn't a duel, but a hunt. The battle erupted instantly. Lily dodged with lightning reflexes, her wooden sword flashing as she struck down one opponent after another. She parried, sidestepped, and struck with terrifying precision. Skulls cracked, faces caved in, and with one final strike, her beloved wooden sword snapped as it crushed the bandit leader's head. The bandits, men hardened by war, couldn't keep up with her speed or overwhelming power. In less than 10 seconds, all 4 lay defeated. That's not just skill, that's pure shock value. 4 killers down in seconds flips the whole power dynamic. Only once did Lily call upon her spirit energy to evade a lethal strike. The rest was pure strength and skill. When silence finally returned, Lily's trusted wooden blade lay broken in her hand, a mark of her first blood-soaked battle. Quietly, she picked up a crude katana from a fallen foe and walked away. The statue's expression remained as solemn as before, watching silently as if bearing witness. At the base of the earth god's statue, she tied a strip of white cloth around the broken hilt, leaving it behind as a farewell to the first weapon that had accompanied her. Chapter 29. Strange Marks. After her first battle, Lily trembled with the realization. She had killed. 4 lives snuffed out in mere moments. Her reason told her they were evil men who deserved no mercy, but her heart still ached with guilt. She remembered how, back when she was still a boy, she hadn't even dared to kill a chicken. Now she had ended 4 lives in the blink of an eye. Not long ago, she couldn't even bring herself to slit a chicken's throat. Now she had become a blood-stained swordswoman. That's pure emotional whiplash. She goes from someone who couldn't kill a chicken to cutting down 4 men in seconds. The truth crushed her, and she fell to her knees in the forest, tears streaming down her face. In despair, she wondered, had she turned into a monster? Fear whispered of fates worse than death if she had faltered. Her tears fell freely as she clutched the stolen katana, whispering apologies to her senior sister. Yet when she thought of Rin and the vow she made to protect her senior, Lily steeled herself. If walking a road paved in blood was what it took to safeguard the person most precious to her, then she would bear that burden. At that moment, something deep inside her soul broke open. A surge of crimson spirit energy flooded out, filling her with a strange hunger. Clutching the crude katana, she felt as if it had become an extension of her own body. Mysterious ancient marks began to etch themselves across its blade, draining the life force from every flower and tree nearby, leaving behind a wasteland. All that energy poured into Lily, her body glowing, stronger than ever before. Then, with a sharp crack, the katana shattered, and Lily collapsed to the ground, unconscious, her sweat carrying a faint fragrance, like moonlight made tangible. The next morning, she awoke brimming with vitality, only to recoil in horror. Around her, the forest was nothing but ash and withered grass. Though she had never meant for it to happen, Lily blamed herself, kneeling to the earth in apology and praying for its renewal. As she finally turned to leave, drops of sweat fell from her hair and neck onto the scorched soil. Where they touched, tender green sprouts of four-leaf clovers emerged, spreading across the barren land, proof that even though Lily's path was stained with blood, the light of life still lived within her. That scene hits hard, its destruction and renewal crashing together, her curse and her blessing tied in the same moment. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and make sure to subscribe for more.